Good morning, good evening, whoever you are, wherever you are, whatever you might be doing. We wish to welcome you to the Silverlight Show. The silverlight shines to illuminate that which lies hidden in darkness. For those of you tuning in today, we welcome you in. Had an interesting situation, but it'll take some time to get to it. First of all, I'd like to congratulate athlete Anne Andres. I'm probably pronouncing the last name wrong, and I apologize. She's a female weightlifter. And in her category, she managed to lift 216 kilograms more than anybody else did and managed to set a new national and possibly a new world record in the process. So absolute congratulations to Anne. Silverlight knows nothing about powerlifting other than you lift heavy stuff. Want to talk about cardio? I know a whole lot about that, but powerlifting, don't know anything. But on Andres, there's a little bit of controversy around Anne. And that's because she's currently 40, and when she was 20 years old, she transitioned from male to female. Now, a lot of red flags are going up for a lot of people. To me, I'm not an expert on powerlifting. It's not a sport I'm comfortable with. But you know what? She, Anne, has been living for 20 years as a female and only started powerlifting in the past 7 years. I know I'm a little bit older than her, but I know with 7 years of training, I wouldn't be setting an Olympic record on anything. No world records, nothing. I don't care what it is. So that alone is an accomplishment. In her category, there's no definitive list out there on what category it is. Like, was it over 40s? Because over 40s is different from under 40s. You get different weight categories. There's all sorts of things. And the newspapers never just tell us. They just say, oh, she lifted 216 kilograms more than the next person in her category. Well, if it was another over 40 person and they were half her size, that's understandable. But no, the newspapers don't want to tell you that. They're too busy fanning the flames of trans so that way they can create a controversy. And this is where we come across a woman named Riley Gaines. Riley Gaines took to Twitter. Do you want to know who she blamed for letting Anne compete in this competition? Prime Minister Justin Trudeau. Yes, Prime Minister Justin Trudeau. And apparently he's against women for allowing this trans female to participate. I don't know about you, but personally, if Justin Trudeau was getting involved in minor sports, I'd be pretty annoyed at him. The world's a crazy place at the moment. Wars in Africa, wars in the Ukraine, wars in China. We don't even know half the stuff. I can appreciate maybe if his kids or, whatever, he'd be attending the game or whatever, but he has no right to get involved in amateur athletics. It's ridiculous. Imagine your kids or you are shooting basketball or playing football or whatever it is that you happen to do to get it active, tennis maybe. And he suddenly came down, I'm Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, and I'm overturning the results of this. No, he doesn't have the authority. Prime Minister is not even a job title listed in the Constitution. Technically, everything goes through the Governor General, but he is the leader of the party in Parliament. It's a tradition rather than an actual position. So why this demonstrates people have this insane capacity to blame people for things that are not their fault. You might remember gas prices going up a little bit ago, and there were calls for presidents, prime ministers, ministers, and senators, you name it, across the world. Thanks, Joe Biden, my gas price went up. Thanks, Justin Trudeau, my gas price went up. Yeah. Then they claim there's too much government interference in things. Oh, Justin Trudeau needs to leave the oil companies alone. Well, the truth is, they primarily do. And taxes, despite what that graphic is that they show you, taxes are not really a major part of the cost of your oil. There's a hell of a lot involved in it that doesn't involve politicians. It's corporations. And if you talk to a gas station owner, they'll tell you that they have a spreadsheet sent to them. This is what the price of oil will be on Monday. This is what the price of oil will be Tuesday. This is what it will be Wednesday. Or something similar to that. In the old days, they'd often have a satellite station and they just look down the street to the, one of the big three gas stations and copy the price or adjust it up and down depending. Prime ministers have nothing to do with that. Presidents have nothing to do with that, but they get blamed for it all the time. And let me assure you, I'm not a Biden fan. I'm not a Trudeau fan. Definitely not a Trump fan. But like I said, this is so far out their purview. And indeed, it would be horrible for prime ministers and presidents to start micromanaging the economy like that. You can either go totalitarian or you don't. You got a choice, but you can't complain about some person indulging in a sport. And like I said, it would be like women's basketball. I'm sure there is a trans woman in the women's NBA somewhere. And they've worked hard to get there. Yes, we have some arguments and some science that says testosterone helps you build muscles faster. But you might notice during the trans procedures, your two biggest testosterone producing organs are removed. And you're taking supplements that actively inhibit testosterone production. So, aside from cries for the government to intervene in a sports body that has governors and managers and all sorts of coaches who have all decided it's okay for this woman to compete, to be begging for some sort of divine intervention from Justin Trudeau's sweeping down and declaring one way or the other, hell no. You know what? I see this as a boon to Canadian athletics. Back in the 80s, there was a big scandal because the Russians, the Soviet Union, were believed to be using super secret steroid programs to enhance their athletes. Well, you know what? If I'm going to the Olympics and Anne Andreas has just bench lifted that much, I'm taking her with me. And you can't stop me because that's almost a guaranteed gold medal. And if it leads to other countries doing the same, so be it. So Riley Gaines really needs to examine her priorities. Is she not accepting the LGBTQ population? And what does she want Justin Trudeau to do precisely? Protect women's rights? Well, LGBTQ community are the community and they have rights. If you want to have a separate sporting group or something, maybe that would be a solution, but I believe it would be a poor solution. Because then you're establishing three branches of sport and you're kind of isolating the problem instead of letting it percolate into the mainstream and become accepted. So there's the saying, check your privilege. I'm not asking you to check your privilege. I'm just saying how many of my listening audience are female powerlifters and feel challenged by this Anne Andres, who is a female, as far as I'm concerned. It's comical how people think they're being deprived after they've been begging for equality. And it's got to stop. We're supposed to be an accepting society. And generally, I'm accepting. It's just this one I feel sticks out like a sore thumb because, like I said, with everything she went through to become a woman, to feel comfortable in her own body, to be perceived by society the way that she wants to be perceived, I see no reason to deny her that responsibility. Oh, but I don't want my child in a washroom with her. Why? She's had 20 years, she's never done anything inappropriate. Quite the opposite. In the past 7 years, she's made herself into a bodybuilding superstar. She's obviously not interested in whatever you think she might be interested in. And the offending body parts were removed long ago, 20 years ago. It's the job of society to accept new trends. And you know what? This is nothing new. Emperor Nero forcibly turned one of his slaves into a female just so that he could titillate himself. He did a lot more things. So this is not a new thing. It's an old thing. We're just dealing with it now because it's becoming more and more acceptable. I remember in the 80s, talk shows like Donahue and Oprah, they were having people coming out as gay, and it was, the whole audience was like, whoa, and stuff like that. Now you couldn't even get that on that show, on those shows, if you paid them. Well, because poor Phil Donahue has passed away and Oprah is not really doing that anymore. But those kind of shows, you know what I mean. So why don't we just embrace the trans population? You're not going to... There's this perception that they're deceivers. Like, oh, they're going to be wandering around pretending to be women and snaring men. I have a couple trans friends. They're open and honest with it if you ask them, and they'll tell you if your relationship is going anywhere that you want it to go. Now, there's going to be some, just like some 17-year-old girls lie to pretend to be 18 so they can go drink in clubs. There are a percentage that do that, but I keep saying this. I think it's the motto of the Silverlight Show is, you know what, no matter what, name it, somebody is going to be doing it. But it's a small population at best. So with that, we hope we gave you something to think about. I know this is a sensitive topic, and I was trying to put a trigger warning on it, but I really couldn't figure out the proper trigger warning. So viewer beware. I know at the end of the video I shouldn't say that, but oh well, that's my way. Sometimes a bit backwards. We hope you enjoyed this episode of the Silverlight Show. If you did, please like, subscribe. Don't forget to hit the button down in the corner for notifications, so that way you can be notified every time that we put a new episode out. And we hope you have a fantastic day.